A Pachycephalosaurus stands before you, its head lowers, its eyes lock onto yours, and the dinosaur freezes. You're probably thinking, okay, he's curious, he's sizing me up, maybe he's hungry, maybe he's even friendly in his own way. But you've got it all wrong. That moment when the head is down, the eyes are fixed, and the body is still, that's not curiosity, that's a threat assessment. And you just failed it. Most people don't understand what's actually happening in this moment, and that's why they'd be at serious risk if they ever found themselves in this situation. Here's why this matters more than it seems. The Pachycephalosaurus didn't evolve that skull dome just for show. It's a weapon, a status symbol, a biological shield. And when that head goes down, all three functions activate at once. Reacting the wrong way to this signal doesn't just make things awkward, it escalates. It confirms to the dinosaur exactly what it suspected. You are a threat. What would most people do in this situation? They either freeze up completely or take the worst possible step, moving closer, thinking they're showing no fear. Both options are a mistake. But before we get into what you should do, you need to understand why you became a target in the first place, because there are exactly 5 reasons why a Pachycephalosaurus locks onto you, and each one tells you exactly what's about to happen next. Let's start with the dome. The Pachycephalosaurus had one of the most dramatic skulls of any dinosaur we know. In its youth, the dome was relatively flat, almost unremarkable. But over the years, that bone thickened, rose, and transformed into that dense, rounded mass on top of its head. Jack Horner and Mark Goodwin confirmed this in 2009. The dome didn't just grow, it transformed, radically. Shape, density, height, everything changed as the animal reached adulthood. Why does this matter to you right now? Because the dome was a biological scoreboard. Every animal around could see it. A bigger, higher, denser dome meant an older, stronger, more experienced individual. You didn't need to get close to understand the hierarchy, you just had to look at the top of their head. So, when a Pachycephalosaurus lowers its head directly at you, it's not bowing in submission. It's putting it on display. It's showing you the dome, full profile for maximum visual impact. It's the prehistoric equivalent of someone slowly standing to their full height and squaring their shoulders before a fight. It's intentional. It's calculated. It means, look at what I am and rethink your next move. For you, this means one specific thing. You did something that was perceived as a challenge. Maybe you moved too suddenly. Maybe you were the first to lock eyes. Maybe you're just the right size and shape to be read as a competitor. Whatever it was, the animal decided you needed to see the dome, and now you're seeing it. This is still a warning. The animal is trying to avoid a physical confrontation. It's giving you a chance to back down. The question is, do you actually understand what's happening right now? Pachycephalosaurs didn't live in isolation. These were social animals with a structure, and in any social structure involving physical competition, there is always a ranking system. Joseph Peterson and his team published a study in 2013 that fundamentally changed our understanding of their behavior. They examined the domes of several specimens and found something unexpected. Roughly 22% of them showed signs of osteomyelitis. This is a bone infection that follows a trauma. It comes from repeated high-impact blows. These weren't random injuries. They were concentrated, specific, and showed clear signs of healing. The bone structure around these sites was different, denser, more resilient, built specifically for this type of damage and recovery. What Peterson's team found was essentially a fossilized chronicle of a fight club. These dinosaurs fought, healed, and fought again and again, regularly. And here's the part that directly concerns you, standing there in front of one. The injuries were found primarily in adults. Juveniles didn't show the same pattern. This wasn't random aggression. This was structured competition between mature animals, the exact type of competition that determines who dominates and who doesn't. When a Pachycephalosaurus looks at you, a large, upright, visually striking creature, it doesn't automatically know where you sit in the hierarchy. You don't look obviously smaller or insignificant. You don't look obviously larger and untouchable. You are ambiguous. That stare with the lowered head isn't just a display, it's a question. The animal is asking in the only language it knows, what is your place in the hierarchy? And if you don't answer correctly, if you don't clearly signal that you are not a competitor, not a rival, not a threat to its position, it will decide for you, and that decision will not be in your favor. Mating season changes everything. The same behavior that communicates dominance in everyday social situations becomes something much more intense when reproduction is on the line. The dome, usually a symbol of status, transforms into a tournament weapon. The warning displays that typically settle disputes without contact start to fail more often. When resources and mates are limited, the cost of backing down becomes too high. The animal that walks away loses, and losing means no offspring. Peterson's research confirms this as well. The nature of the injuries on Pachycephalosaurus skulls, the frequency, the distribution, the signs of repeated damage and healing matches dinosaurs that regularly engaged in ritualized combat during specific competitive periods. These weren't random skirmishes. They were organized, recurring contests with real stakes. This is exactly what we see in modern animals with similar biology. Bighorn sheep, muskoxen, species where males have specialized structures designed for exactly this type of collision. If you're standing in front of a Pachycephalosaurus during this period, you aren't being read as a curious object, or even as a predator. You are being read as a rival, just another male, or something close enough to one, that has entered a space where competitors are not tolerated. The head lowers, the eyes lock onto you, and the dinosaur is no longer asking questions. It has already made a decision, and a preemptive strike is coming next. Here's what Kenneth Carpenter discovered, and it completely flipped the conversation about Pachycephalosaurus biology. For a long time, the prevailing assumption was that these animals used their domes for direct head-to-head ramming. Two animals charging at each other, skulls colliding head-on. It seemed obvious. But Carpenter studied the biomechanics and found a problem. A perfectly aligned head-on strike requires a level of precision that is extremely difficult to achieve at high speeds. If the dinosaur were even slightly off angle, the impact would become asymmetrical, ineffective, and potentially more dangerous for the attacker than the target. What actually fits the dome shape is a flank strike, not head-to-head, but dome-to-side, into the ribs, into the flank of something much larger than itself. Based on this, we can assume the dinosaur used this same tactic to defend against predators. A predator, attacking a Pachycephalosaurus, presents exactly the kind of target the dome was built for. With a powerful sideways strike, the Pachycephalosaurus could drive its dome into a soft flank, a rib cage, or legs, making the predator regret ever entering its territory. For you, standing upright and roughly the size of something that could be seen as a real threat, you present that exact same geometry. You are being viewed as a predator looking for a meal. The head goes down because that is the striking position. That is the angle from which the dome delivers maximum impact on a target of your size. Here's the most uncomfortable part. Maybe you did nothing wrong. You didn't move suddenly. You didn't make eye contact first. You just stood there, and that was already enough. The Pachycephalosaurus's brain was small relative to its body. That's not an insult, it's a fact, and it means one specific thing. Complex situational analysis was simply off the table. There was no weighing of options, no doubt, no, let's wait and see. There was only the system. Simple, fast, and foolproof. An object of your size appears in the line of sight? That's a threat. The threat is standing on your territory? That means it has to be driven away. Driven away by force. That's it. There are no other programmed options. You couldn't have made a good first impression. You couldn't have behaved correctly to avoid being judged. Your very presence, your silhouette, your size, already triggered the process in its head before it even got a good look at you. This is the simplest, and yet the most terrifying, reason why it chose you as its target. Not because you did something wrong, but because you were the right size in the wrong place. The Pachycephalosaurus went extinct 66 million years ago, but the logic of its behavior did not. Its behavior lives on in modern animals right now: bison, muskoxen, deer during the rut. So, here's what to do. Modeled after real-world encounters with real animals that share these exact same instincts. Don't freeze up completely. U.S. National Park Rangers teach one rule when facing a bison in a threat posture. Total stillness is read as a challenge accepted. You aren't neutral, you're a rival who refuses to budge. Don't move closer. Even a single step forward at this moment is an attack in the animal's coordinate system. Studies on muskox behavior show that most actual collisions began after a person moved toward the animal, thinking they were demonstrating calmness. Reduce your visual size, slowly. This works with deer, bison, and mountain goats. Lower yourself smoothly. Get shorter. The animal reacts to your silhouette. If you stop looking like an equal rival, the threat level drops. Back away sideways, not backwards. This is critical. Turning your back triggers the pursuit instinct found in most territorial animals. By moving sideways, you maintain control without triggering a chase. This is exactly how people are trained to handle aggressive bison in Yellowstone. Never get caught at close range on its flank. Carpenter proved that the Pachycephalosaurus struck from the side. But this isn't unique to them. Bison, rhinos, and enraged bulls attack the same way. A flank strike with a horn or a head into the ribs is a classic territorial tactic against something larger than themselves. The animals change, but the logic has remained the same for millions of years. Now you understand what's happening, and you'll never have to find out firsthand just how effective that dome is for a flank strike. The Pachycephalosaurus is one of the most misunderstood animals in prehistoric biology. People look at it and see something smaller than the apex predators, something herbivorous and therefore safer, something without the obvious signs of danger like teeth or claws. But danger doesn't always come in the form of teeth. It was in the bone, a bone the animal spent its entire life perfecting into the most efficient striking weapon it could grow. The signal, head down, eyes locked, isn't aggression for the sake of aggression. It's communication. It says, I know what I am. I know what you are, and I'm giving you one chance to react correctly. Now, you know exactly what that means. This was Sasha Paleo. Subscribe if you found this interesting.